Are you a fan of Star Wars, Marvel, Jurassic Park, The Office, or Disney and Pixar movies? Or do you just want a sleek, comfortable patterned shirt? Then you need to check out Roosevelts.com. Roosevelt's clothing is the most eye-catching and comfortable clothing available on the market. From button-ups to hoodies, hats, and more, Roosevelt's truly has something for everyone. Check them out today at Roosevelts.com. That is RSVLTS.com. And when you do, make sure to use promo code SWOGGLE to save 20% off your order. Made for those with a love of sports, pop culture, and all of the above, this is clothing for the bold and fun for those who dare mighty things. So that's promo code SWOGGLE to save 20% off new, clearance, and restocks at Roosevelts.com. Hey guys, another episode. This is the year-end episode. 2023, a year's end. Looking forward to 2024. Guys, this is Going Postl. I'm Dylan. That's George. George, before we go any farther, I'm sorry.
Your light's not on.
I know my light's not on, but this is why. If you're listening to this is an audio and visual podcast. Check out the video version.
Oh,
this is
God.
why my light wasn't on to start.
Oh, it's
blue.
It's blue.
Which means
Why is your light blue, Dylan?
Which means my lovely son was up here playing by himself in my office. My sanctuary, my getaway, my relax spot in this house. And he was playing by himself on Xbox with this blue light on. I don't know why. He's not a streamer. He's not a Twitcher. He's just playing with a blue light on. So now
Not on brand. It could have been green.
And mess with it. There we go. Now I'm looking good. Oh, nope. Turn up. Turn it up. Banging it. Hi, George.
Hi, good to see you. And not a pale blue glow. It's, man. Whew.
At least twice a week this happens. Where I come back in my office and my light is messed with and it's always blue. Always. I don't get it.
I guess that explains the most recent gear design. It all kind of goes with the blue.
Let me say this. If you haven't seen it, it's on my socials. Landon designed my latest vest. Literally, I said, "Hey, man." He texted me. He was at his mom's, and he goes, "Hey, can I design you a vest?" I go, "Sure, it'd be awesome." And he designed it literally, and I had it made exactly how he wanted. He wanted a green or a black and white skull. I made the change of making it a blue skull because I have some blue gear, and that's the only thing he was like, But man, he was so incredible. The guys at Global WrestleWear put the actual drawing as the tag in the vest, which is mind blowing. And now it's like, I think I'm gonna have him design like all of my gear now. I don't care. Like, heck with it. Just from now on, 'cause I'm not, as we know, I'm not creative when it comes to this stuff.
No, you're creative. You're not artistic. You have the idea. You just can't like physically draw it out.
Yeah, I know I want gear. That's what I know. Like,
well, no, because we've done shirts and I've done shirt designs for you. You've had the idea. You're like, hey, I have this idea. I want to make this shirt, but like you don't have like the ability to like go into Photoshop and do it or like draw it on a piece of paper. You have the creativity, just not the ability to take it to the next.
I just don't know.
You're a concept guy.
Big concept guy. Dylan Postl. Big concept guy. So yeah, I think I'm gonna fully have him do my gear going forward.
That's awesome.
TTD, I mean, I'll give. It'll be like a collab, a Landon and TTD collab. It'll be Landon with the idea, sending it to TTD, sending it to Global.
How long before you have a TTD Landon cow chicken nugget gear?
I was gonna put it on the vest on the inside of the lapel, but once I saw him do the tag, I was like, I can't have too much Landon on my stuff.
Oh, wait a second. What if there was cow chicken nugget, but it was done in the style of your skull? So it's cow chicken nugget,
a punk
like
rock
skeleton, like skeleton cow chicken nugget, and it had like the accents
man,
that you have on your skull logo.
Oh, that'd be sick. TTD, coming your way.
There you go. All right, before we go any further, let's get this out of the way. This podcast is brought to you by our friends over at the Roosevelt's brand. Use code SWOGGLE to save yourself 20% on your order. You can find Dylan on all forms of social media at Dylan Postl. You can follow the podcast at Going Postl Pod. DylanPostl.com. That's where you get links to the Twitch channel, the YouTube, swoggleauction.com for free $10 credit on whatnot, and prowrestlingtees.com/swoggle. But again, DylanPostl.com, the one-stop shop for all things Swoggle. Today's episode, Dylan, year-end episode. This is releasing on the 27th of December, and the next time that we release an episode will be on the 10th of January. So this is our year-end episode. We thought it'd be cool to kind of do a little recap for the year, and we had a big year. This was a big year for Going Postl. A lot of changes from the public eye, but yeah, it'd be cool. Go take a look back on the last year, because we released our pilot episode on January 11th. So
I can't believe it was that far back.
A full year. And then you think that we have a whole other year of doing the podcast as a part of the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast Patreon group.
I really think this year was like for me, I finally was like focused more on the podcast. It took a bit, but I finally was really, really focused more on the brand of the podcast, promoting the podcast better, and all that. And it wasn't just turning the mic on and the camera and opening my computer and talking. This year for me was really like, hey, I'm loving doing this. Let's make it fun. Let's make it even more fun and better. The interaction with the listeners and all of that has made it incredible. And I really think that this year, like you said, going from the Patreon page, kind of behind that, and I hate to say the wall of, the paywall, I guess, behind the paywall to public, just to get eyes on the show and new listeners and all of that has been great. And I've really, really enjoyed the broadening that we've done.
Yeah, and I think that it would be fun to kind of rattle off the episodes that we've had and kind of get your thoughts on each episode that we've had, because we've been doing it for a year, but because we release every other week, it's not as many episodes as you thought. And the goal behind this was kind of keep it short and sweet, something to just quickly digest on the fun time between.
Like
no, it never does. But
it never happens.
I will say it in one day. Maybe today will be that day. It may happen. But so we released the pilot episode on January 11th. And the first real episode after that was your sit down with Ethan Page.
I legitimately forgot I did a sit down with him until the other day. I was like, man, I could have Julian on. Oh, wait, I already had Julian on. And I completely forgot. Again, my memory, as we know through this podcast, is awful. But I remembered, then I was like thinking about it. I was like, oh, we had a lot of fun and a lot of laughs on that one. It was a really, really good
He also had a blue light, and you yelled at him for a blue light.
That's right. Because didn't he put the green one on for me? And yeah, that's right. He changed the background light. I forgot about that. But with all the small talks, they've just become hanging out with a buddy. And I think that's what I love most about the small talks. And I think what the listeners love about the small talks is it's just two buddies hanging out. And it's just kind of like you get an inside look at what it'd be like at the bar or in the locker room or in the car or on a FaceTime at 11:30 from me. And it's just one of those things where I think people enjoy that. And that was really, really true in the Ethan Page one.
Yeah, so let's do this then. Let's break down all of the small talks just to kind of get those out of the way, because there have been a lot of good ones. So you had Ethan Page, we talked about that first, and then right after that was Brian Myers, who's sitting down with the most professional wrestler.
Which, again, I thought I did way, way back. And I definitely did not.
It was February 22nd.
So that one, like, again, I knew I wanted to interview Brian, but when we were behind the paywall of the Major Pod, I was like, I don't want to do it yet because it's so easy, and so many people on the Major Pod kind of. I mean, Brian's done 97 interviews, on Major Pod stuff. So I wanted to be different, and I wanted mine to be different, and I really feel it was, and it was two buddies just laughing. Man, I remember my stomach hurting from laughing during that one. And just like, but again, not being, hey man, why did you start the Major Pod? Like, just stuff like that. Like, I never want these interviews. There is nothing worse, guys, when I do an interview or a podcast outside of this and those of when did you start? Who trained you? How did you get signed? How was Vince?
Guys, let's talk about Mad Cat Beard Care. They make my beard feel soft, silky smooth, and they can do the same for yours. A one-man show since 2019, Mad Cat uses a portion of their sales to care for local stray cats. That money covers their medical bills and finds them safe spaces and forever homes. Their products are made to order with vitamins and all-natural oils that promote strong, healthy hair and moisturize your skin as well. They've got exclusive scents for myself, as well as other wrestlers like my good pal Brian Myers, Mr. Kennedy, and Ring of Honor legend Delirious. Make sure to check out all of their scents, along with my Swoggle scent, which has notes of lavender and sage. I absolutely love this scent. And guys, we've got an exclusive offer for listeners of Going Postl. Use promo code SWOGGLED to save yourself 15% on your orders only at madcatbeardcare.com. That is Swoggled with a D on the end to save yourself 15% on your orders at madcatbeardcare.com. Guys, that's 15% with promo code SWOGGLed, and remember, the Mad Cat makes a happy beard.
When I get asked those, it's like, God dang. Just like, so that's why when I do the interviews with different people and Brian and Julian included, it's like, what can I ask that's fun, that might never have been talked about, or if it has, we can dig deeper into, and that kind of thing. And I really, really enjoy being able to do that and being able to give listeners something new.
Yeah. So then, and I think that you have maintained that throughout every interview. And I say that, I feel like after every single interview, is that because almost everyone that you've had on for a small talk is someone you have some type of relationship with, someone that you traveled the road with, someone that you've had an indie show with, someone that you've, talked online to through DMs for, a couple of years before you actually were able to meet in person.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, you and I started this podcast solely based off of the fact that we had a cool interaction at FWF1.
Yeah.
Talking about your Twitch channel and stuff.
Yeah.
And you're just like, all right, I like that guy. I'm going to do a podcast with him.
Yep. And it was, but that's where it's like different for me of doing those interviews compared to the Wee Man one and that kind of thing, where it's like, I have no relationship to Wee Man. He's like a legit hero of mine, and it's very intimidating and very like, man, what do I ask this guy? So it's like not the same shit and have it be fun. And I was very off my game in that one. But it was still a really, really fun one. But I felt very, very off my game in that interview and stuff like that, where it's like, because I can't just bring up a story and from our past, and we laugh about it. And
yeah,
then we
there's
go
no
off
like
on a
on the
tangent.
road tale of remember when this happened in the hotel room or anything
Exactly.
like
Yeah. No. Exactly. That's the hard part. But small talks have become. They're very nerve-wracking for me, as I use that term a lot in this, and I know. But they're very nerve-wracking because I'm constantly like, I'll make notes. I never make notes for this podcast. George makes a ton of notes for the podcast, and he's very good at that. I don't, because we go back to the creativity, and I don't know how to make it good without just being, I always think if I make notes, it's going to be Wikipedia-ish. And I don't, that's why when I take notes for the small talks, I really get on my own case about it because I really don't want it to be Wikipedia and I want it to be me. So it's like, it's very, very like stressful for me, but I really enjoy doing it because then when we're going through the notes and we get to the end of the interview, like the Joe Shoes one, where it had to be 2 separate episodes because it was so long. And I even cut 3 or 4 things out where it was just like questions. And it just went way longer than I even expected. So it was, man, stuff like that is where I really, really enjoy small talks.
And then continuing from the small talks, we actually did a small talk rewind since there was an episode that we wanted to talk about because it was timely, but it was before we had the podcast. So then we did the small talk rewind, and we called it Brad Williams Part 1. And the plan was that we were going to get Brad Williams on again in the year to talk about stuff, which, hey, maybe that's the plan for 2024. We get Brad Williams on the podcast for Part 2.
Brad got a tad busy filming a comedy special that's now out on I can't think of the platform because I'm a horrible podcaster. But he was filming a comedy special, going on a U.S. tour, which is now he's also continuing into this year in the biggest tour he's ever done. So he was a tad busy to be able to do Small Talk Part 2. But we're going to get him on again. I would love to get him on again. And it was just one of those things, again, where we talked about where it was, I didn't know this guy except Twitter DMs. And then I finally went to see a show of his, and it was great. And then we went on the Jericho Cruise, and we had a blast. And now he's like a buddy of mine. And it's crazy to think about where it's how friendships are created literally through social media. I never met Botchamania Matthew. I never met him until it was like the very first StarCast, I think, or All Out, whatever it was. I think it was the very first StarCast. But I've been talking to him online since Botchamania pretty much started because I've always been a fan of it. And then
Never been on
had
it, never botched.
No. And then I had we had this interaction when we first met in person, and it was like we were best friends for years. And it's just crazy to me how social media can create friendships so easily.
Add it to the list. Let's get Matthew on.
Oh, I would love that. That would be a fun one.
Add that onto the list of 2024 potential interview episodes. Another small talk. Moving on from Brad Williams, then you had your good buddy who you played gin with, Mr. Tony Chimmel.
This has been one of the most talked about small talks from wrestling fans.
It's so good.
From my uncle, my uncle listened to it and he was just laughing. And it was just so, man, I would not have expected that one to be such. I knew it was a hit because I love Chimmel. And
you know why? Because he knows how to hit your buttons. He just knew the things to do and the things to say, and how to purposely say things incorrectly to.
He knows how
poke your buttons and make you just as uncomfortable and annoyed as possible.
Yeah, but that's what our relationship has always been. Always been that, and it's been one of those relationships forever that I can text him any day. And it'll be a great couple back and forths, and then it'll be just shitting on each other. And I just that one I really, really enjoyed because again I But that's another thing, another crazy thing with technology nowadays. I haven't seen Schimmel face to face. We randomly ran into the into each other at the Cleveland airport months ago. That was the first time I saw him in person in 6 years or more.
Wow.
Probably more. But when I saw him on our interview, it was nuts. It was like, man, it feels so good to finally see him again. I haven't seen him in years, and it felt like we were just hanging out at the bar. So it's one of those things where, man, I really, really loved that one. It was so much fun to do. And I'm really glad people got an insight. Tony Schimmel doesn't do interviews. That was the first interview he ever did because he always told people, no, I'm not going to do one. No, it's stupid. And so then he did it, and we had so much fun. I'm so glad people got an insight to it.
And then after Mr. Tony Schimmel, you sat down with another member of Team Dad, Mr. Kofi Kingston.
And man, to get that was, I mean, Shoes and I were laughing about it. You go from Kofi Kingston to Joe Shoes. But Kofi Kingston is probably the biggest guest we've had on. And for it to work out and Kofi to go to bat and be like, hey, I want to do this show. And it was so nice of him and such a fun. It started immediately with him busting my balls. Immediately. So I had to hit the record button. Like, we didn't even say hello. And he was just like crapping on me. And so I had to just hit record and just let it happen because that's again our relationship. And it comes out very fully in that one. I think maybe more than any other.
The Big Nick shirt.
Man. Big Nick started that one. Oh man. I really, again, I haven't seen him in years. And to be able to just hang out with him for an hour and do that is so awesome. Even virtually. It's the world we live in now. I've lived on FaceTime for years of my life, and everyone hates it. I am a FaceTime guy.
Yeah, you're the only person that FaceTimes me.
I like this. This is good.
No one else FaceTimes me except for you.
Everyone yells at me. Everyone yells at me because they go, no, I don't want to. I said, oh, you want to call? This is hanging out, seeing each other. Makes me feel good. Makes my heart warm. Dylan Postl, big FaceTime guy. I always will be. There are times I FaceTime over text, but I'm a texter, I'm a FaceTimer, and then I'm a caller. Never a caller. Unless it's like, obviously, like, I'm not going to FaceTime my dentist. That's just silly.
Unless it's an emergency.
Oh, I would love to FaceTime the dentist if it was an emergency. Like, hey, look at this tooth.
Guys, I got a challenge.
FaceTime the dentist.
If anyone out there will listen to every episode of Going Postl that we have released since the first episode and make a list of everything that Dylan said, Dylan Postl is a big blank.
Oh, yeah.
Thing.
Come on. Justice Summers, I'm looking at you.
I want to make it a shirt, like a checklist.
Legit,
where it says Dylan Postl is a big, and then it's a bunch of things to check off. If you make that list and you send us the list, we'll make it a shirt and we'll send you a shirt.
Well, I'll up it. Listeners, if you are a main listener, if you're a new listener, go back in the archives. It's going to take a while. Big blank guy. Dylan Postl, big blank guy. Make the list. If you make the list, not only will we make the shirt and send you the shirt, give you credit for the shirt, I will send you the biggest care package I've ever made for someone. To this date, my nose is really itchy.
It's okay. It's okay. You're allowed. No one can hear you itching your nose, Dylan. It's fine. I don't have to edit out you scratching your nose. I have to edit out your coughs.
Well, I fucking got the cough. I'm sorry. It's fuck that. Bogger put this out. It's a tick. Because now I think about the Postl cough. I only Postl coughed once, then I called it out for being a Postl cough, because if I don't, some nincompoop will call me out for it. And if I don't call it out, I have to. And now I think about that I'm coughing, so I cough more. Same as my sniffles.
There's the Postl cough. There's the Postl wheeze. There's the Postl isms. The Postl-isms.
Postlism. There's a lot of Postlisms. I had one at Thanksgiving yesterday, and I can't even think what it was. But
you were like the most self-branded
yesterday was not
man
Thanksgiving, by the way.
in
Yesterday was
podcasting.
Christmas. Let me tell you this, George. Let me tell you this. I went to do my grocery pickup the other day. It was Christmas Eve. I was doing my grocery pickup.
It's not
I'm not a peasant. I don't go into the store. I sniff. I was waiting. She loads up the groceries in my trunk. As she's about to close, I said, "Happy birthday!" Closes the trunk. I go, "Oh, why would you do that? Why would you do that?" And now, like, I live 3 blocks from the grocery store. Very small town.
You can never go to that grocery store again.
I've never seen this. This is a new gal. And this new gal.
You never go there again.
Yeah. I've never seen her ever do grocery delivery like that. And I go, "Dylan, why did you do that? Why?" And I was like beating myself up. Why did you say happy birthday? I was trying to say happy holidays. But it came out happy birthday. And then she was closing the trunk, so I couldn't be like, "Oh no, I'm an idiot. I'm sorry. I meant happy holidays." Because our interaction was done.
What are the odds that it was actually her birthday? And you just like,
if it was her birthday,
plucked that out of thin air.
I made her year if it was her birthday. Because everyone's going, "Oh, happy holidays. Oh, Merry Christmas." But if I knew her birthday as Christmas Eve, which no one, including her family, probably wishes her birthday on, they're always like, "Oh, happy Christmas Eve." I made her year. So that's what I'm going to go with. I'm not going to go with.
Let's go with that.
I'm not going to go with I was an idiot.
You know.
And then I froze.
It's your podcast. You can paint it in whatever light you want.
Yeah. I was going to roll down my window and be like, "Oh no, I meant happy holidays." But then I was like, no, because then she knows I messed up. Not knowing like, oh, he messed up. He's an idiot.
Yeah. It most likely she probably, even though you said happy birthday, she probably heard happy holidays. And it just didn't even think twice about it. You're probably in your own head about it more than she gave it any thought.
No, that's not something.
Never. That never happens. Never.
That's not like me.
Dylan Postl overthinking something? What?
Dylan Postl, big overthinking guy.
Add it to the list. Add it to the list. Well, speaking of groceries, the next person that we had on the podcast is the queen of the cookbook, Miss Renee Paquette.
Again,
throwback
I thought
episode.
we had Renee last year.
It was a throwback episode. So we did 2 interview throwbacks. We did your sit down with Brad Williams, and then we did a throwback to Renee.
The Renee one, I remember the Renee. I was like, man, that was like my first feeling of like, this is a big get. And
yeah, that's pre-podcast. That's Patreon. That's just branded on the Dylan Postl YouTube channel as a small talk. That's not even a Going Postl episode.
Yeah, and it was just, man, it was fun.
That was a good one. Very, very good. Very, very interesting episode. And I feel like I think that may be like the second or third one that you had done on your own, not affiliated with the podcast, but it was one that you could see where they were going in a sense of you were getting more comfortable. You were really kind of like setting the stage for what it would become as a featured episode. Going with that, the next one that you did was one that we had talked about doing for a long, long time because it was your sit down with TJ Wilson, better known to wrestling fans as Tyson Kidd.
Yeah, the TJ Wilson one. I never thought that would happen. I never expected. He doesn't do interviews, and I was glad to get him, and I was glad to get him again. It's gonna be repeating and repeating and repeating, but get him in a setting where he's comfortable and where he's just relaxed and can just laugh and tell things he hasn't talked about much and stories he hasn't talked about much. And the Reindeer Kofi and Reindeer TJ stories, where it's like just fun stuff like that, where you can then go back and watch that and appreciate it even more.
It was, again, you can tell once you start getting more comfortable with your interviews and how over the course of you doing the podcast over the last year with more interviews than just having it be YouTube content, that you really did kind of find your stride. And then the next one after TJ Wilson was another good friend of yours, your wrestling dad, Mr. Tommy Dreamer?
I was wondering if I couldn't think when he was in the whole scheme of things.
That is September 20th episode.
Dreamer was one that we always wanted to do, but with his schedule of being on the road so much still, his schedule of busted open stuff, and just his schedule period with Impact and everything, he was a hard one to finally schedule and get down. But then we were able to, and we got a look at things again. I keep saying it. Things you didn't know about him, about the action figures and the video game stuff and all of that. Where I liked that I was even like, I felt myself listening in so much because I didn't know things he was talking about, and it's the first time I heard stories from him. So that was a really, really nice one to do, and I'm glad we got to finally do that one because his and I relationship is so close.
And Dreamer is another one like Tony Chimmel. He knows the things to do and the things to say to push the buttons and get a rise out of you. It
little
was just
things. Stupid DMC with that stupid title. It was just like, what are you doing? I hate it, but it made me laugh so hard at the end.
So good. It's funny how, the thing, I'm going to say this and we both are going to know that it's not true, but the thing that's supposed to set you off about the podcast is the hot take. We know that that's not always the case. And sometimes you get hot in the middle of the episode because of some random tangent that we go on. But to see how quickly someone would bring something up, make one small detail or change the pronunciation of one small word, and just to see you deadpan the camera and immediately turn bright red. It is, while editing the podcast, it is one of the funniest things to see.
Dreamer finally got an iPhone. Finally. I texted him the other day and it was blue. And I said to him, you have no idea how much this means to me that you are finally texting blue. I can FaceTime you. I can do everything. And it's finally able to, I'm finally feel like you've grown up. And he goes, I hate it. I can see when you're texting, I am God. I said, you're such an idiot. You're just dumb. And it makes me angry that he says these things. I get an easy rise out of me, but it works every time. But yeah, it's I don't even realize what the people are saying, and then they say it, and it freezes me. And I could be in the middle of a question or having a thought, and it's gone.
Oh my God. And it's funny because we're bringing up how Tommy Dreamer knew how to push the buttons, but the last person that we had on Small Talk for the year was our good buddy Captain Joe Shoes, and
what a guest! What a guest! Goes from Kofi Kingston and TJ Wilson and Tommy Dreamer to Joe Shoes.
But that episode, so many people reached out to us and said how fun it was and how they didn't know as much as they learned more about Shoes during that episode than they did.
I did it.
What did you break?
Nothing. I did it.
You did
but
it?
I need to can I put table extenders in?
Table extenders?
So I could.
Guys, I'm not recording a podcast here or anything. Why
we got here? It wouldn't be a podcast recording without the Landon Postl run in here.
Guys, he's putting together this Extreme Sets 3.5 arena set, and it's enormous. You need the table extenders? Do it on the floor. I'm recording a podcast. Do it on the floor. No, bye. He knew. He goes, you turn the light on? You turn the light on? He knew what he did.
Well, now that you know it's a thing, he's going to do it all the time.
Every time. Every interview I do. It's going to be a blue light or a green or a yellow.
Listen, the light can be blue as long as you're on the right microphone, Dylan. That's the most important thing.
So, speaking of, Captain Joe Shoes was real fun about I was real happy about it. And then I realized I wasn't on this microphone. I was on my MacBook microphone. This is why I can't do things on my own. But the Joe Shoes episode was just fun. And it was so nice. Again, I texted George after. I go, might have to cut some things here, George. And then I was also I texted him, hey, I think this has to be 2 episodes because it went so long. And then George goes, he saw the length of it and he texted me back, Jesus, you would talk for almost 2 hours. And it was one of those things where I was like, yeah, it was just, I didn't even realize how long we were talking.
Like, if you told me that you did that with Brian or Kofi or, like someone that like 20 something hours within a single day, and it's like it's story on top of story on top of story, I think it's how quickly and how close you and Shoes became friends that it's just like you kind of never missed a beat. It's like you guys had to make up for lost time.
Yeah, it really, really is. Like I say, I haven't known him that long, and we met at one of the live shows, live whatever, and it was like him and I have now. I text him every day. Every day I text Joe, and I really, really love the friendship that him and I have built, and he's a good buddy of mine, man. He really, really is.
It's awesome. And that caps out all of the small talks that we did for the year. But let's rattle off some of the other topics that we covered. We talked about Swoggle in Rumbles. We break down every type of Rumble or Battle Royal that you were in, which was a fun episode. Right around the Brad Williams episode, we talked about the Jericho Cruise, which was a fun episode. Get a little peek behind the curtain about everything that went into that.
That was one of those where I didn't expect it to be much, but then there was so much to dive into about the Jericho Cruise and about kind of everything I was thinking and feeling and going through at the time. And
how like dark being out on the ocean at night was.
Petrifying. Absolutely petrifying. And then being able to tie that into the looking up on the YouTube channel too, and that video diary. I liked how those three kind of all came together.
And then after that, we kind of were hoping to speak a future small talk into existence, because the next episode after the Jericho Cruise was all about your friendship and relationship with Kofi Kingston. All of the things that you did back, and it worked. We manifested a small talk with Kofi Kingston. Then we went into your time in TNA Impact and talked about your feuds with Rockstar Spud, everything that you did with Ethan Page and Brian Myers. Oh man. And then that led into a couple months down the line, your AJ Swoggle micro brawler.
Yeah, it happened. The AJ Swoggle one happened, and the micro brawler happened, and I was so happy, and again, never expected. Especially, I mean, it's been a couple of years now, but it's something that people still talk about and still like bring up at the table. Where, oh
Man, you remember when you dressed as AJ?
yes, I do. It's always, I have a horrible memory. We know this.
Yeah, we know.
But it's always, hey, do you remember when you were Vince McMahon's son? And I'm thinking, like, if I didn't remember that, that'd be something. But there are things in my career I've realized that I should remember, and I have no recollection of.
I'm trying to think of ones that jump out to me like immediately that you were just like, wait, that happened? I can't remember ones.
Every
There's one almost every episode, but I'm trying to think of ones that like jump out to me.
I talk about all the time where I go, George, I didn't do that. And you go, yep, this date, this place, this arena.
On this episode of this happened. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, sure. And I can't really.
I guess you're right.
The thing is, like, and then I'll rattle it off, and then it kind of jogs my memory of, oh, yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah, I've done a lot of fun things, and it's fun to it's odd to think back on them and be like, oh yeah, I really did do that.
You did a lot of cool stuff. That is for sure. No one's going to take that away from you at all. But then, we're at the highest of highs right now. We're going to bring it back down, because in the episode after that, we were talking about it's July 14th. It was the episode we covered when you got fired.
Yeah, that was one. I remember that being like the final, really kind of therapeutic and like, hey, release episode of like, oh, I'm okay with this. This is done. It's in my past. I'm past it. I'm over it. Yeah,
it's the closure that you needed.
Exactly. That's exactly what it was.
Good. I'm glad that we are able also to kind of be a little therapeutic in that sense here. And then after that, oh my God. We talked about your Cruiserweight Championship run, but then we also had a very long tangent about breakfast cereals. So the name of that episode was the Cereal Weight Championship.
So fucking stupid. Like, just
to this day, I just can't quite put my finger on why you got so fired up about cereal.
I can't think about what made me mad, but something made me mad. And I remember it turning into all
Cheerios.
Yeah, that's what it was. No one
Cheerios.
Fucking eats Cheerios. It's 20.
And our good buddy, Johnny Clash, loves to remind you about how much he loves Cheerios.
He's a baby now. He shouldn't be doing this to himself anymore. He has a child.
Well, no, now that he has a baby, that's probably the most responsible time to eat Cheerios because advertised on the box, it says it is a heart-healthy cereal.
Great. Nope, not doing this. Nope. No, I'm not.
Okay. We're not going to go into another cereal rant, but after that,
stupid. Enjoy life. Enjoy not life cereal, but enjoy life, like living. You can enjoy it eating that.
You said something on this podcast when it was the Patreon episode. I think it was when we were talking about I think very similarly to what you had asked Shoes, we did something about building your favorite fast food meal.
Yeah.
And I remember at one point just being like, wow, you picked the most like big ticket items from a lot of these places. And you looked at me, you went, George, I'm here for a good time, not a long time.
Yeah. I want to enjoy my life.
Like, that's a hell of a motto.
Like, guys, if it's eat a fucking salad or eat 20 nuggets, what am I going to enjoy more? Because when I get hit by a car tomorrow, I'm going to go, oh shit, I had that salad yesterday instead of nuggets.
I really hope that, God forbid, if that happens, that the last thing that you think about isn't the fact that you ate a fucking salad the day before. I really hope, God forbid, knock on wood, that does not happen. But I really hope that the last thought you have is, I shouldn't have had that salad yesterday.
Should have had that 20p.
Like, of all the possible things that you could think of as your last thought, I really hope it's not about a salad.
You know me, though. It's going to be. Landon's fine. Landon's going to be great. He's going to live a great life. Like, he's a bright future in front of him. And if I fucking eat a salad as my last thing I ate and then just get rocked by a goddamn Chrysler, it's not. I'm gonna be pissed. I'm gonna be really mad. I could have had a 20-piece with sweet and sour and barbecue. Instead, I had a goddamn salad. God. I'm not gonna be happy.
Oh,
would
Jesus
you?
Christ! I just, again, you took it to such a dark turn. Like immediately.
That's that.
Such a dark turn.
But it's true.
Unreal.
No one's gonna be happy if their last meal was a salad. I watched Good Mythical Morning, Mythical Kitchen does the last meal episodes. No one is picking a salad. It's cheesecakes. It's this. That show has made me think about death here and there. Very dark time.
What's the two things that we all have in common, Dylan?
All gotta eat, all gotta die. Yes. But I just, man, I can't imagine if I didn't live life. And I get it. You gotta eat healthy sometimes. You gotta take care of your body so you can live longer. Bullshit. You gotta enjoy life. You live once. You gotta enjoy it. If I come back, this is my time on this planet is done. I come back as a grasshopper or as like a cockroach or something. I'm not going to go for salads. I'm going to go for the picnic basket with sandwiches.
Again, setting your aspirations. So why can't you come back as like a bald eagle or something?
Like a fucking bald eagle.
Why not? Set your goals high. Come back as something that can. No, you're.
I don't want to fly all the time.
Like, why a cock? You want to be a cockroach? You want to live under people's refrigerators?
What's under there? Food. Cockroaches living a pretty damn good life. They're gonna outlast us all. They got that shell.
Boy, that. I'm marking that down as a hot
Hold on.
Please, dear Dylan,
what
please,
lives longer?
Please.
Listeners, what lives longer? Bald eagle or cockroach? I guarantee it's cockroach. You don't want your second life to be longer than your first? Cockroach is going to outlive me. Bald eagles have a great life. Good nest. They're heroes among animals in our country. Heroes. A cockroach is that fight from under, that underdog story. Gonna get stepped on.
And that's what you want? You want to come back as the underdog story?
Hated by a lot of people. The cockroach isn't a bad thing.
You know how Sami Zayn had that shirt? It was the underdog from the underground. You're going to have the shirt that says the underdog from under the fridge. Oh, God. I got to make that shirt now, don't I? The underdog from under the fridge. It's just a picture of a cockroach.
I mean, just bald eagle or cockroach. I'm picking cockroach all day.
It's a wild take. That's not even a hot take. It's a wild take. It's not even the argument of bald eagle versus cockroach. It's cockroach versus anything else. Like you could be anything.
No, like I would love to come back as an otter. Man.
But you didn't say otter. You said grasshopper and cockroach. Those are the two that you led with.
My mind. First two things. Like, man, if I come back as an otter though, you've never seen a pissed off otter. Otters are the most happy. That's why I can't come off as one. I can't come back as an otter.
You'll be an anomaly. You'll be the only angry otter.
The only otter that's angry all goddamn day.
There'll be a Pixar movie about you in a couple of years. It'll be Dylan Postl stars in The Only Angry Otter. It'll be like
this water's too wet. I don't like it.
You know what I hate about water? It's too wet and it gets everywhere.
Float on my back all day? That sounds dumb. No.
People keep giving me little stones. I gotta carry this stone and play with a stone all day. All right. Well, speaking of animals, speaking of little animals,
I can't come back as an otter because they're just too happy with life.
I'm gonna use this as a segue.
That's the clip of this one.
It's gonna be multiple clips. The clips for this episode are just going to be from the cockroach comment to now, and it's gonna be you want us, and it'll be like part 1, and then it'll fade to this, and then at the end it'll fade to black and say part 2 coming soon, and then it'll be like. Oh my God. Well, talking about little animals, the next episode that we did after that was called Postl, and it was a little different. We tried something interesting, and we wanted to see if you could name all 151 original Pokemon, and you did really well. If memory serves, I think you only missed 2 or 3. No, it was way more than that. It was like 6, I think. But I'll give you the benefit of the doubt.
I was very, very happy with that.
I would like to do something again like that. I think that's a cool. I like when they're themed episodes, but not specifically around aspects of your career. Like,
yep,
it makes it a little more interesting. We did a lot more stuff like that on the Patreons. Maybe you'll see that in 2024 come into the main feed a little bit more. After that, we talked about your book, Life is Short and So Am I, and got into the ins and outs of what it's like to write your book, write your first book, and then what goes into that.
Yeah, it was a fun one to think about, and think about just all the work that we put into that book, and things we wanted to take out and things we wanted to make sure to leave in, and just how the whole thing came together too. It was I enjoyed that. I enjoy like thinking about, because I don't ever think about. Obviously, I think about coming back as a cockroach more than anything these days, but I don't think about certain projects I've done. I don't think about them enough, and how it's pretty awesome that I have a book out, and that'll be. Landon just said it the other day, and his mom said it. When do these residuals come in for us? And I laughed. I go, man, it's just funny to think about like that for the rest of his life, Landon will have the story of his first few years of being alive.
And all of that, I mean, we talked about it on the You Getting Fired episode when they made the Where Are They Now?
Yeah.
And you talked about in that episode how crazy it is to watch that video in 2023 and just see
so little,
how little Landon is,
man.
and
he's so small. so little. He's just a baby, and he wasn't. But he's compared to now, he's just he's a real boy, as I always say. He's a real boy.
And to see what he was doing at ACW, to then see what he's done, what he's doing now,
yeah, man, it's nuts. It's just, and it's. I am so thankful that we have technology, and that we have things. I can record anything he does, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. But then I have home movies from his whole life, and between little clips I have in my phone and video diary stuff and all of that, it's almost a this is your life, but constant. And it's, again, whether that's good or bad, that's how I like it.
It's a very good way of looking at it, that it is kind of like at any point you can go back and be like, remember when we did this one specific thing and I have a video of it? It's cool. It is a massive benefit of where we are technologically. And then it's crazy to think like, what's the next big, like we take video for granted now, but like, what's the next big thing? Like it's crazy. And then after we talked about your book, we talked about your time in DX in the September 6th episode, Break It Down, where you were the official DX mascot, but we more so said that you took X-Pac's slot.
I was the X-Pac. X-Pac wasn't a mascot. I was the mascot, but I was the X-Pac of the three.
Yeah, Sean Waltman moved on, and you took that. You filled that
fill a spot, and it had to be me.
That's it. Then we talked about all things Ultimate Warrior, your favorite wrestler of all time, and that was a long one. It was a good one, and we got the ins and outs of your early fandom of wrestling, your collection of all things Ultimate Warrior. It was a cool one.
Thinking about that really made me think about like how much, and I've talked about it even more lately, how wrestling figures were the reason I'm a pro wrestler. Like it wasn't like it was I loved watching it, but like I got into it because of wrestling figures, and this whole thing is because of wrestling figures.
Damn, it's crazy to think of. Like mine is video games. So my into wrestling is video games. So that's wow. Yeah, it's crazy the things that pull you into wrestling that aren't you just like sitting down in front of a television being like, oh, what's this show? I want to watch this show. It's like there's some other external media that like sucks you in with the magazine, trading cards, action figures, video game. It's crazy. Then in time for the holidays in October, we talked about Leprechaun Origins.
Got to a deep dive into Leprechaun Origins and what it could have been, what we would have loved it to be, and what it ended up being. And that was a good release of everything too.
Then we moved on to the many entrance themes of Swoggle, where we covered all of your entrance themes. We talked about what the future, if you would ever change your entrance theme, if what entrance themes Landon would want to come out to. We covered a lot in that episode.
I will fully go on record. I will never not use hit or miss. It's gonna take something big for me to not use hit or miss going forward, and I think that's my final.
And then the last episode before we got into the Captain Joe Shoes Part 1 and Part 2 was your time as the anonymous Raw General Manager. I think maybe one of the more eye-opening and interesting episodes that we've ever done, mainly because it doubled down on something that we talked about in the Kofi Kingston episode.
Man,
Big Nick from Joyzy.
Big Nick from Joyzy. We got the full story on Big Nick, and it was one of those, hey, this was again what was supposed to be and what it ended up being. And man, it like brought this like weird anger out after like, god dang, it could have been so big, and who knows what it would have led to, but it wasn't. But also I don't let myself get beat up over that, because you can't. I try to live so much for now and not think about what ifs. But it could have been so huge, I feel, and so different.
Oh man, it's. I feel like that has been not a recurring theme, but it has come up more than it hasn't on the career retrospective episodes, where you're just like, you know, either oh, I wish that this had gone differently, or I feel like more often than not, at the end of the episodes, you have a new appreciation for something that you otherwise kind of just like blew off and didn't think was like a major thing. You're like, I never realized how cool this was or how awesome it was that I did this.
The positive ones are real positive to look back on. The negative ones are really like, man, what could have been?
But there's more positives than negatives, which is
agree.
the key.
I fully agree.
That's the point that I was making. There are a few. I mean, obviously, talking about the day you got fired, we all knew it wasn't going to be a happy episode.
Yeah.
But to then, at the end of that episode, kind of see the silver lining in the sense of, think of all the cool things you've done since. Like, yeah, it sucked that you lost your dream job, but like you were there for almost 10 years and everything that you've accomplished since is awesome.
Is because of that too. Like I wouldn't have the life I do because of if I didn't have that.
You wouldn't be a published author?
No.
That's a big thing, man. Not a lot of people could say that they have a book.
I love it. I love that. That's a notch on my belt. No, notch on my belt?
Hell yeah, man. Yeah. Yeah, it's a notch on your belt.
Feather in my cap?
That works too.
Okay.
Yeah, that works. Yeah.
Okay.
Listen, I gotta say this though. Is there anything that you want to make official for 2024? Any things that you want to say, this is what we're doing in 2024? Now is the time to say, kind of lay your claim as to this is what Going Postl is doing in 2024. These are the people that we're going to try to interview in 2024. Lay it out there.
I don't. Not for people for interviews, because I don't ever want to throw it out there and it not happen. We have a list of people that we would like to do. And that's a growing list and a changing list. But I never want to dangle the carrot for the carrot to never be eaten. So I don't want to do that. But what we can talk about, guys, a Patreon is coming. It is.
Yes, it is.
And it's going to be exclusive content, whether it be early episodes, all of that jazz. There's going to be exclusive content coming to Patreon between us and Game Marks and a whole lot of things that we haven't really talked about yet, but we will very, very soon. Patreon is coming. We've been talking about it. We just wanted it to be right. We didn't want it to be, hey, you support us enough, now give us money to support us. That's not what we wanted. We wanted this to be right for everyone and to be able to support everyone involved. And be worth it too. Listen, money isn't growing on trees. We know that. And we're always told that, but it's true. And we didn't want it to be, I never want to come off as a cash grab by any means. So for something like this Patreon, we really wanted it to be worth it for our supporters and all that jazz.
Absolutely. Very well said. I don't have anything to add to that. That's you summed up our goals for the Patreon perfectly. It's going to be exclusive content, fun stuff, just stuff that maybe we want to try but doesn't maybe fit the entire format of a regular episode. Mm-hmm. So it's just fun little bonus content. All right. Well, is it time for the social plugs and to wrap up the final episode of the year, Dylan? What do you say?
I think at Dylan Postl on all forms of social, at Going Postl Pod on all forms of social, youtube.com/Dylan Postl, where if you're not watching the free video episode, you can watch it there, as well as video diaries, unboxings, small talks, looking ups.
Love it.
Shorts.
Perfect.
I'm going to start doing shorts on YouTube. Just random things that I, not TikToks because I'm 37 years old, so I'm not going to do TikToks. But I'm going to do shorts on YouTube, whether it be small unboxings or just random things. I'm going to try to get better at that. This year is my 2024 goal. I'm going backwards in what we were just talking about. 2024 goal, get better at social media. I'm the absolute drizzling shits at social media, and I know this, and I've accepted this, especially the last 2 months. I've tried to get better, but I'm trying to get even better. That is my goal. I have a platform. I need to use it. I've been told that by a lot of people. I need to use it better, and I know that. So this is my year.
Your intentions are not, it's not like you don't want to post on social media because you are forgetful or you don't feel like posting on social media. You don't want to be the burden. You don't want to flood people's timelines. And we've talked about this plenty of times that
it's not a real thing.
You know, people follow you for a reason. Correct. They want to see the content you're posting. And if you're posting stuff that links to content that you're making, it's different than if you're just like people would like to see you post about a new video that you posted rather than you just being like, hey, buy this thing. Correct. Hey, buy this thing. Hey, did you buy this thing yet?
Yep. I'm going to get better at it. That's my goal for 2024. Just one of them. But yes, going back to plugs, prowrestlingtees.com/swoggle. You can get all the podcast shirts, all of my shirts, all that jazz. This is going up on the 27th. So, whatnot, swoggleauction.com. Visit it now, guys, because January the 10th, I return to Whatnot, and there is a stack of stuff behind me, and it's all going up. I have some rare items. I have some fun items. Whatnot is a thing that I've really, really enjoyed doing, but get yourself $10 free, swoggleauction.com, sign up. January 10th, I'm returning to Whatnot. George, what do you got?
Well, I also want to remind people that if you just want to go to one link and see everything, you can go to dylanpostl.com. That's the one-stop shop for all things Swoggle. And I wanted to say a huge thank you to the supporters and the sponsors of the podcast over the course of the last year. Huge shout out to Roosevelt's and Mad Cat Beard Care for being with us for the whole year. It was awesome. It means a lot to us, and Dylan and I greatly appreciate your support and just being with us for the whole year. It's awesome.
Yes.
As for me, myself and my good friend Johnny Clash, but on this podcast, Dylan likes to refer to him as. We have a podcast. It's called the Game Marks Podcast, and we break down a different wrestling video game each and every week. And you can follow along on all forms of social media at Game Marks Pod. And we have a great time doing it.
Can I make a request for a game? And this might be a Patreon thing. I know I've talked to you and Clash about this. Can we do something in 2024 where I see these videos and I really like these videos? Evolution of Triple H throughout the years. Evolution of Hulk Hogan throughout the years. And
we do that already,
I understand this, but do you guys talk about it, or do you guys just show it?
No, we have the video game history of, and then so we've done the video game history of The Undertaker, and we have a video version and an audio version of the podcast, and we show pictures and videos of the wrestlers in the games that we're talking about. So we cover their first appearance to the most recent one.
And every appearance.
Can
I be on that?
The only rule is that we don't do the the tribute version. So how there's a guy who looks like Undertaker in a Fire Pro game, but it's not actually the Undertaker. It's got to be this is the Undertaker.
Some of those. I would like.
Who do you want to be on?
I want to be part of these. I want to do Warrior.
We haven't done the Warrior. Do you want to do Warrior? All right.
I would like to do Ric Flair.
Okay.
And I would like to do Rey Mysterio.
All right. I like that idea.
And Jeff Hardy.
I like that idea.
4.
And Jeff Hardy. Oh, man. Johnny Clash's ears are going to be ringing right now. He loves Jeff Hardy.
But I remember you guys saying you did them, but I didn't know if you guys just kind of it was a short kind of thing, or if you guys actually did full episodes.
Yeah, so we do full episodes, and then we kind of cut them up for social posts and stuff like that. But
yep, let's do it.
All right. Well, guys, thank you very much for hanging out with us for this entire year. We appreciate the support. It means a lot to us. Dylan and I would not be doing this podcast if it was not for you guys. And here's to bigger and better things in 2024. And what better way to end off this episode by doing two things. One, reminding you to please like, comment, and subscribe. Ring the notification bell. Leave us a...
Guys, like, comment, subscribe. Smash that notification bell if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're listening to the amazing audio version, make sure to subscribe wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Leave us a rating, a 5-star rating. Leave us a review. Tell us how we're doing. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you'd edit. Tell us what you'd add to this. And all that jazz. But as we close the show, each and every time, George, give us a send-off.
Bye.